Here's two reasons why I'm still holding FLR's native token called FLR, even though nothing I say is financial advice. First of all, maybe the idea when it comes to FLR, arguably at the price of 25 cents, it's still on my mind. I'm still thinking about that. But why am I still thinking about that, right? It's because I like how the market cap at that point doesn't seem that unrealistic to me, maybe. And again, this is just what I'm thinking. Because going to the price of 25 cents, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around 18.5 billion. Now, we've seen like Shiba Inu pretty much double that market cap back in 2021, so it's not something too outlandish to me, maybe. But only time will tell. But the kind of, I would say, counter to that is that sometimes people like to say, but 25 cents is around a 10x from here. Why would you care about that? My point of view is this. If let's say Bitcoin went to 300 grand from right now, that's less than a 3x from here. If Ethereum went to 10 grand, that's also less than a 3x from here. Now to me, again, I'm not speaking on anyone's behalf, but that doesn't really excite me. However, when I take a look at maybe the idea of a 10x, again, it's not going to be the best hypothetical thing out there, and how can it, right? I mean, FLR, FLR's native token, the market cap is, relatively speaking, pretty big already. But then it's not like too massive where it's like even anywhere close to like a Bitcoin or Ethereum. So I kind of like that. FLR fits what I'm looking for. Kind of like a decently sized project that is not too massive but not too small either. Again, there are some microcaps out there that could hypothetically maybe outperform it in an event where, let's say, there's a fully fledged type of altcoin season. But then at the same time, I'm not looking for that. Like, sure, some could make it, but for some that do make it, there's a bunch that don't when it comes to those microcaps. So, not necessarily going to take a look at that, but then at the same time, Bitcoin and Ethereum, to me right now, that's not necessarily something that I want to look into. So when it comes to FLR, it does fit the criteria that I'm looking for. Again, kind of pretty decently sized, but not too massive either. However, keep in mind, I'm not only just holding FLR, right? I mean, I'm holding other projects too. However, I do want to use it as one of my foundational pieces because I do like the fundamentals of FLR, and let me explain why. And this actually brings me to my second reason as to why I'm still holding FLR, and that's because when I take a look at FLR, I mean, I feel like a lot of people already know it as the blockchain for data, but I think some other aspects to it that make it pretty interesting is kind of the aspect of XRP-Fi. Now, XRP-Fi stands for XRP Finance, and I kind of find this pretty interesting because, of course, when it comes to Ripple, it's very popular. So again, I do like that when it comes to FLR, at least that aspect of it. However, not to mention as well, I also like the kind of growing DeFi ecosystem that I've noticed when it comes to FLR. Now, DeFi stands for decentralized finance. The reason why I like this is because the decentralized finance market is predicted to be worth over $200 billion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So that's pretty massive. And overall, I do like that vibe when it comes to FLR. Now, FLR, keep in mind, it is the blockchain for data, but then also it does provide developers with decentralized access to data from other chains and the internet. However, it's an Ethereum virtual machine smart contract platform with 2 data acquisition protocols. Now, the reason why I think this is pretty interesting is because one of the data acquisition protocols when it comes to FLR is something called FTSO, and that is, an acronym for FLR Time Series Oracle. Why do I think it's pretty cool? It's because if we take a look at an oracle, it's basically a data feed that brings data from off the chain, so it's off-chain data, right? And then it brings that data over into the blockchain. The reason why this thing is pretty popular, and the reason why I think this is pretty cool is because without off-chain data, many decentralized applications out there, they can't really function properly, which is why I think a lot of other projects out there that do have this oracle aspect, much like, for instance, Chainlink, right? I could kind of see why that's pretty popular. It's because, again, I think there's arguably a pretty, important need for off-chain data. However, even besides all that, there's another data acquisition protocol when it comes to FLR, and that's called the data connector. It's for trustless data proofs, and it's pretty cool as well. However, again, I think something like the FLR Time Series Oracle just seems a lot cooler to me. But even besides all that, when it comes to the exact moment FLR is going to do this or do that, it's going to be beyond my control. Hypothetically, maybe if it waits until like near the end of Q1 of 2026, like maybe around March or something like that, that's going to be beyond my control, right? I cannot, demand the market to do this or do that. Like, sure, I can pull up a price chart, draw some random triangles, draw a falling wedge pattern or something like that. I'm still not going to be able to know the perfect time. So for what? I'd rather take a look at the fundamentals and just stay patient, because all I'm doing is dollar cost averaging, holding, and just waiting. That's pretty much about it. And I'm going to still do that because initially that's what I did when it comes to FLR, and I'm going to do that right now. But that right there are 2 reasons why I'm still holding FLR. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.